Hi, and welcome to another episode of Utah Crossbow Hunter. And in today's show, we are going to be talking about crossbow safety. How safe are you? So, with that said, let's get started with today's show. Okay, so how safe are you? Well, the reason decided to bring this up is my last episode was maintenance. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to follow up with just a little bit on crossbow safety. Crossbow safety is really, really important. It's just like firearm safety, important stuff to know. So I decided to bring this to you really quick, and hopefully we can get some insight on safety and how important it is. So let's see, get my stuff going here. So as you can see, crossbows have come a long ways from their, I guess you call it ancient days to the modern era. And yes, there's even a pistol crossbow, and I have a uh, crossbow that is the pistol. Maybe one of these days I will do a show on that. That's a lot of fun too. So, first of all, read your owner's manual before operating your crossbow, as each crossbow operating instructions can be different. So it's important you read everything in that manual, you know, because it's going to cover stuff maybe that I'm not covering in here that is important. Just remember, all crossbows are different. None are made the same. None are. I guess you could say they're shot maybe the same, but uh, they're all different. Okay. Um, Always follow manufacturer's directions with regards to loading and unloading your crossbow. There could be different. Some may say that you can use your rope or your cocking device to uncock it. Some may say no, 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 don't do that. So read your operation manual on that. Um, Always ensure that safety is engaged upon cocking and do not release it until you're ready to shoot. Okay, so most, if not all, crossbows these days, when you cock it and load your arrow in, I should say load uh, your string, automatically set the safety. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, they started doing that around 2010 with regards to that. So, but again, always check your owner's manual. Make sure it has an automatic locking device. That way, when you load your string in, it automatically sets that safety. Because that's another important safety feature in a crossbow. Okay, and do not release it until you're ready to shoot. And we'll cover more of that in just a moment. Always remove the bolt when you're decocking the crossbow. Yeah, how important is that? Don't leave your arrow in there. So there's decocking devices out there on the market. I highly recommend that you get one to help decock your crossbow. For those crossbows which must discharge a bolt to disarm, do it in a safe manner. Okay, shoot it at something like a foam target, a block target, whatever kind of target. Shoot it at something if that's what your manufacturer says to do. For those crossbows which can be manually unloaded or decocked, ensure that your foot is securely planted on the stirrup before decocking the crossbow. Those are the ones like you have those manual cocking devices, like the crank. The crank, okay, you could use the crank, but again, um, I'll be honest with you. I used using my crank one day to decock my arrow. I should decock my bow, and I had a little accident. You know, I scraped up my fingers because careless, more or less. So when it comes to, when it says your foot securely planted on there, make sure. And when you talked about your feet, shoes. Shoes are important. Make sure you're wearing shoes. Don't be wearing flip flops or anything like that, open toed type stuff, because you might end up hurting your foot, and that wouldn't be a good thing for you. Ensure, here's another important thing. Ensure that your fingers and thumbs are placed in a safe area when holding or shooting a crossbow. Check the manufacturer's recommendations, holding the grip to avoid, personal injury. I've seen where there's, if you go on the internet and search with lawsuits of the guards that are on your crossbow. Make sure your hands are way below that rail on your crossbow. Keep in mind any obstructions that may impede the crossbow limbs when firing the bow during hunting or practice. So make sure that you got a wide field behind you or in front of you, because tree limbs, trees, if you're up against a tree, sitting on the ground, brush around you. So always make sure you're clear around your crossbow. Unlike a compound bow where it's straight up and down, when you're shooting it, or even a rifle, you don't, your clearance can be a little bit different. So if you're used to a rifle, make sure that you got that clearing around yourself. Whether you're in a tree blind, on the ground, shooting blind, whatever, make sure you got that clearing around you. Never dry fire your crossbow. Never, never, never. Because you can cause some good damage to your crossbow. You can break your string, you can break your limbs, or just different things. So make sure you always, never, ever dry fire your crossbow. Do not load or cock your crossbow while in a tree stand. Now some tree stands may have the room to do that in, but again, you got to make sure you're extremely careful with that. Because, for example, if you have to do a second shot on an animal, it could happen. You have to do it in a tree stand. So make sure you do it extremely careful. When hunting from a tree stand, remember to unload the crossbow before raising it up and lowering it. So when you're in a tree stand, cock it at the bottom. Okay, attach your rope to your crossbow. Okay, make sure your crossbow is facing down, not up. Okay, because that can make a big difference. So make sure it's pointing down. Always visually inspect your crossbow and accessories and ensure that everything's in good working order before hunting or target shooting. Again, we just crossed that in our last episode. Okay, make sure that your crossbow is in good working order. It says always wear safety glasses when assembling, cocking, loading, or shooting your crossbow. Well, use common sense. Okay, always, common sense was what's going to keep you safe. Okay, do not stock with, transport, or carry a loaded crossbow. A lot of times we stock our prey, whatever it is, but as far as transporting it, like in your vehicle or something like that, never transport it cocked and loaded in your vehicle. Okay, or carry a loaded crossbow. Now, in the mornings, I would cock it back at my car and carry it in. Evening times, that can be a little rough. As you're going into your stand, what if you run across a deer, elk, or whatever you're stalking, or going after, and Well, if you want to have one in there, my suggestion to you with that is be extremely safe. Again, using common sense. Be certain of your intended target. Do not shoot just because you see movement. Target practice an open area where you are certain that the trajectory of your arrow is clear and protected. Um, we'll do the second one here. When target shooting, do not point your loaded crossbow in any other direction than of your target. When conversing, do not turn towards some person you are talking to with loaded crossbow. Okay, so those two really go together. Okay, always make sure of your background, whether you target practice or you're shooting at an animal. Okay, or you see movement, because people move to the brush just like animals do. You know, so you got to be careful. That's how a lot of accidents happen. You don't look at your background. Always look at your background. Make sure that background is clear as much as possible. Especially from a tree stand. From a tree stand, you might not see the background as well as as you're on the ground. Shooting from a blind, shooting from a tree, or the bottom of a tree, cut your back to a tree. Again, make sure your background. If you're not sure of your background, and don't shoot. If you see something moving behind you, in that background behind your animal or your target, don't shoot. Okay, because it could be another person walking behind you and you don't see them. Make sure there's no obstacles such as trees or branches, limbs in your way of your crossbow. Again, we just talked about that a little bit earlier. Make sure it's all clear. Do not move your safety into the firing position until you're ready to pull the trigger. Do not put your fingers on the trigger until you're ready to shoot. It's just like a rifle or a pistol. If you take that off of safety, make sure your finger's off that trigger. Okay? Again, making sure everything is clear. And don't put your finger on that trigger until you are ready to pull it. Okay? Don't shoot your crossbow with others standing next to you. Keep them behind you. Okay, if a string breaks or something, debris flies sideways, forward, or wherever. If you notice my video with my son's been out there with us, or my two daughters, I always make sure that they're behind me. And my field of vision is, if I don't see them this way around, I'm okay. But I always make sure that they're behind me. Okay, which covers this just a minute ago. Hoist or lower your cocked or uncocked crossbow with a bow, rope, or string with the front end of the bow facing down. Make sure it's always facing the ground. Okay, check your shooting lanes. Make sure there's no obstacles on your bows. Notice we're saying this a couple, 3 times. Can't stress it enough. Check your shooting lanes. When you're in a tree stand, always use a full body harness and a safety rope while tree stand hunting. Again, if you fall from that tree stand and you don't have that rope on, you're probably going to see better days. So always keep that in mind. Okay? Keep your arrows and broadheads safely protected in your quiver when not in use. So, in other words, don't swing them around or anything like that. Because one thing I stress to my son and my daughters, when we're walking back, because they like to let me pull the arrows out of the target. Okay, they like to do this. I tell them no. Arrow pointing down. Okay, and we walk. We don't run. We walk. Okay, and the last tip I'm going to give you today is seek out an expert to help you select and become acquainted with your crossbow. Finding the right crossbow and becoming familiar with the safety features will help your crossbow experience both safer and more enjoyable. So if you're a first-time crossbow hunter, like I am, okay, I watch videos. Lots and hours and hours and hours of videos on shooting my crossbow. picking up my arrows, my broadheads, the whole bit. I spent a lot of time looking while I was using my Jaguar, um, practicing with it and knowing more about that. Okay? So with that said, we are going to go into our final thoughts. So, be right back. Okay, final thoughts. So I hope you got something out of this about crossbow safety. Yeah, I went through it kind of fast, because we're all adults here, I think. Except for me, I'm still a child in heart. But anyways, crossbow safety. Keep yourself safe. Keep others safe. Okay? And always keep this in the back of your mind. How safe are you? Okay? You need to be safe first. Check your backgrounds. Make sure there's nobody else around. Make sure there's no limbs, branches, anything in your way. Here's a safety harness on. Did you hoist up your crossbow safely? Did you decock your crossbow safely? So always keep that stuff in mind. Don't be in a hurry. Slow down. Okay, accidents happen when you get hurt. You hurry up. So, like if you want to do a follow-up shot, you get in a hurry. An accident could happen. We don't want that. Nobody wants that. Okay. Everybody wants to see you come home safely. Nobody wants you to come home with an arrow sticking between your ears. Unless you're doing the joke on them, but that's not good sometimes. So with that said, be safe out there. Good hunting. Keep your family safe. Most important. Until next time.